Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm here with my top 10 powders. I have both pressed and loose powders. So I'm keeping in the vein of powders because I decluttered my loose powders, then I decluttered my pressed powders. I'm gonna name my top 10 and then the whole powder videos are gonna be over. Now these are my top 10. These are the powders, and you know I have a lot of powders. It took me the entire weekend to really sit down and think about why these are my top 10. And so they're in no particular order. So let's start with pressed powders. So the Charlotte Tilbury, the Airbrush Flawless Filter Powder. I have two shades. I have shade 3 and shade 4. This is shade 4. I love this powder. It's a medium coverage and you get like a natural finish, but it really does leave you airbrushed. It looks amazing. It's very finely milled. It's very seamless. Like, this is like magic. It's a beautiful, beautiful powder. I don't use it as much because, like I said, I love my loose powders, but I think if you're a makeup lover, especially if you love powder, I think this powder should definitely be in your collection. It's a must-have. It's a must-have if you like powder. Just like in the name, it's literally flawless. I think it's like $40-something. It could be like on the pricier side. Then on top of it, the packaging, I think it's beautiful. I love anything gold, any type of gold packaging. So I think this is a must, and that's why it's in my top 10. All right, my next pressed powder is the Sephora Micro Finish Powder. I have it in the shade 56 Mahogany. I love this powder so much. I could not do top 10 powders without including this. It's a beautiful powder. It gives you a natural finish, but and a lot of these powders aren't too dry because, like I've always said, I have very dry skin. It's been very, very dry lately. This is great. And what's also beautiful about it, it's $20. It's actually half off now in Sephora. If you want this powder, it's now $10 on Sephora. I think I'm gonna get a backup because you can be $10. It's a beautiful color, beautiful powder. I love this shade as well. It's like a nice it's a nice golden shade, this 56 Mahogany. If you're my skin twin, this would be nice. I use this for all over. For the Charlotte Tilbury powder, I use both under eye and all over. I use shade 3 under eye. This, I've never used under eye. I use it all over. Very finely milled. You really get a nice, flawless finish. It's not glowy, but it's natural to the point where your skin, it looks like you're not wearing powder. This is why I love this powder. I think this is underrated a lot. It's really, really beautiful. And my next pressed powder is the one very similar to that. It's the MAC Mineralized Skinfinish powder. This is a staple for me for MAC. This is one of their best products. And I was a MAC girl for years. I still love MAC. I mean, they haven't really wowed me like in a while, but I'm always going to be a MAC girl. I love their Mineralized Skin Finish. I've always had it in the shade dark. When I used to purchase it, it used to look like this. It used to have the clear, you guys, if you love this powder, you remember, it used to have the clear cover and it would say MAC. But now I prefer that packaging over this packaging, but this powder is still great. I think this is baked as well because the Sephora powder, I know it's baked because I remember before I purchased a Sephora powder, I used to be hearing it's such a dupe for this. And it really is. So I'm not sure if this is baked, but I think it's baked like that one. If I'm wrong, well, you guys can correct me. What a beautiful powder. Very similar to a lot of the stuff I talked about with the Sephora powder. You can find it here. I think the big difference is that the price, of course, because I can't really find too much of a difference between these powders. The only thing I would say, I think the Sephora one is a little bit more natural than this one, like ever so slightly. more natural than this one. If you guys own both, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but for me, that's how it feels. And that's how it looks on my skin. I feel like the Sephora powder is a little bit more natural, but they're very, very similar. And this is always going to be my top 10. I'm always going to buy this pressed powder. And again, I use this for all over. If you've never tried the MAC MSF, the Mineralized Skin Finish powders, I think you should give it a try. And again, I have this in the shade dark. All right, my next pressed powder is the Huda Beauty, the Easy Bake pressed powder. You guys know from the time I purchased and reviewed this powder, I loved it so much, and I still do. I have it in the shade Kunafa. I love this because it's unscented. It has hyaluronic acid. It's talc-free, because a lot of her powders weren't talc-free. This is talc-free. I love this. And I love this because of the creaminess of it. I think it's very dry girl friendly. If you have dry under eyes, if you have matured under eyes, I think you would love this powder. For me, when I put it on, especially after a couple hours have gone by, it has mixed with my natural oils and stuff. It looks like I'm just wearing a really pretty concealer that's staying in place, because it literally looks creamy under the eyes. Like I said, I have the shade Kunafa. I think it's a beautiful yellow shade. At least for me, Kunafa, when I put it under my eyes, it doesn't really look as yellow. It settles nicely into the skin. And I prefer this over her loose powders. For me, the loose powders make your under eye look so snatched. It really does, and it makes it look flawless. But the one thing for me that's stopping me from putting them in my top 10, they're just very, very matte. They're so matte, and they actually look dry under eye. I think I'm gonna wear it more in the summer, because as you guys know, if you've watched my channel, I recently purchased Peach Pie. I'm gonna try to wear that more in the summer. I don't think I can wear that too much in the winter. It's extremely matte and it's drying. And so that's why the loose powders didn't make my top 10. But this pressed powder, if you haven't tried it yet, like I had said before, this got very mixed reviews. A lot of people don't like it. So if you like a matte under eye where you can see, because this is like a medium coverage. It's not as full coverage to me as the loose powders. So if you like an under eye that looks creamy, hydrated, doesn't look like you're wearing too much powder, this is the powder to try. I think she hit it out the park with this powder. I love the formula. This is one of the best products from her, in my opinion. Like how I like her Tantour. I really, really like this powder. All right, so those were my four pressed powders that made it to my top 10. Now I'm going to move on to the 6 loose powders to round up the top 10. I'm going to start off first with the Hourglass, the Veil Translucing Setting Powder. I love this powder so much. This is one of the most finely milled powders that I own. It has a very, very natural finish. So if you're the type of person that's looking for a full coverage sort of powder or anything like that, and I have this in the shade Translucent Deep. If you're looking for a powder with full coverage, this is not it, because this is the one, and it's very, very hydrating as well. It has a very, very natural finish. Like, you can't tell you're wearing powder at all, like when you wear this. And that new Selena Gomez powder that I purchased and I used on camera, it's a beautiful powder. It's like $25. And the only negative with this powder, I would say, is the price point is $50 for this powder. It's very beautiful. And the other thing I would say though, I don't think it's great for under eye. Because I've seen people use it under eye, and I think I've seen a couple people actually, because I've always felt like that. And because I used to have the lightest one, I gave it to my niece. She's of a much lighter complexion. I didn't like it under my eye. To me, it didn't look good. But for the rest of the face, I think it looks beautiful. And especially for somebody like me with very dry skin, when I put this on, it does give an airbrush look. I know that I've set my creams, my foundation, my concealer, whatever I set, but you cannot tell I am wearing powder. My face looks very dewy. It looks like it's a glow from within. It's a beautiful, beautiful powder. But like I said, the price point, $50. I wouldn't wear it under my eye, but this made my top 10 because it's so beautiful. It's like, I think it's even more finely milled than the Rare Beauty. I keep saying Selena Gomez, Rare Beauty powder. This is beautiful. And the shade Deep, beautiful golden undertone. I think it's perfect. Like I said, it's 50 bucks. But if you're ever in a mood to splurge, or if Sephora has a sale, or you gotta get a gift card, try this. I wouldn't recommend it for under the eyes though, in my opinion. I don't think it looks that great under eye. I think it looks better all over. I usually use a brush or my damp sponge when I use mine to set my face. Next loose powder, of course, no surprise, the Laura Mercier Translucent Setting Powder. I have this in all forms. I have this in all shades. This is my overall shade for all over my face in Deep. I have Honey for under eye. I have the one that has the Illuminate. I have the illuminating one. I love this one because this one is talc free. It contains hyaluronic acid. Both do, because this is the old version. I got this because the tub, limited edition tub, so pretty. I love this powder. I'm always gonna love the Laura Mercier powder. I use this obviously for all over. I use Honey for under eye. It's not as full coverage as, let's say, the Huda Beauty or anything like that, because it is translucent, but I think it just looks amazing under the eye. It's a cult favorite. I understand why it's a cult favorite. It is a matte finish though. In my opinion, it's a matte finish, but it's not that drying sort of matte where you look casket ready or your under eyes look like extra matte, like the Huda Beauty loose powders, because I feel her powders really, really mattify the under eyes. This is matte, but not in that sort of a way. And I think because it's not as full coverage, it's not as opaque, for lack of a better word. It's not as full coverage. It doesn't look as heavy, but it is matte. But it works for me. It doesn't feel dry on my skin. It doesn't feel dry under eye. And so the Laura Mercier loose powders are always going to be in my top 10. No surprise here. Maybelline Fit Me. This is drugstore. This is less than 20 bucks. It's drugstore. This powder is so good, guys. I'm not sure what a dupe, but a high-end dupe is. At first, I thought it was a high-end. I thought it was a drugstore dupe for the Fenty, but I don't think so. What a beautiful powder. I have this in shade 30 and 35. This is shade 35. No, this is shade 30. I use this for under eye. I mostly use the one for under eye. I don't really reach for the one for all over as much, although I should because I have a full tub. This is a beautiful, beautiful powder. It's full coverage. Look at this beautiful golden undertone in shade 30. If you're my shade twin and you ever want to check out this powder, go right ahead. This is also like a matte finish, but to me, it's more of a natural matte finish. You're not going to get a glow from within and all that stuff, at least for me. And as I keep saying, I have dry skin. So I'm speaking from a dry skin perspective with these powders. And I love powders, although I have dry skin. I love everything complexion. If you watch my channel for the last how many years I've been on here, you know that. And so this powder right here, this has become so quickly has become my favorite. I love it. I like the color. I like the full coverage of it. When you put this, I'm wearing this under my eye today, along with the other powder that I'm going to talk about. Immediately, the under eye is just snatched. It looks flawless. It covers everything. It looks so amazing under eye. And to think this is drugstore. This is drugstore. And, oh, I forgot to mention that Laura Mercier powder is a little pricey. I think it's close to 50 bucks now. I think they went up on the price. I don't think it was ever that close to 50. I could be wrong, but it's like close to 50 bucks. It's a little pricey. Getting back to the Maybelline Fit Me powder. The price is right. It's drugstore. It's beautiful. It makes my under eye look so good. It doesn't move. It doesn't really crease. It stays in place. It's a wonderful, wonderful powder. Very nicely priced because it's drugstore. This is always going to be in my top 10. All right, next powder is the Fenty Pro Filter powder. I have it in the shade Hazelnut. I used to own like 4 of these powders. I now own 2. This also is going to be in my top 10. When I first got this powder, like my OGs know, this is all I used to set. I don't finish anything, but this, I think this could be my third tub or something like that. This is how much I love this powder. This is also a matte powder, but it's sheer because it's like a very loose setting powder, so it doesn't feel or look matte on the skin. Let me show you the shade of Hazelnut. It's a beautiful, rich, golden shade. I used to wear this powder every single time I wore my makeup. I wore this powder. It's $36. You get a lot in the tub. I love the shape of the tub. I remember when this first came out, some people were saying that the shape, it looked very childish or something like that. I love it. I think it looks very beautiful. It's very solid. To me, it looks very luxe. I love it. And like I said, it's matte though. But it works for me because it's not a heavy matte. It's sort of sheer to me. Kind of have that sheer look. I used to wear this all over. I haven't really used it. I used to have the shade Honey that I used under eye sometimes. Yeah, it was the shade Honey that I gave away. But I mostly use it for all over. So I'm speaking for like all over my face. My face would not feel dry or anything, although it was matte. It was a nice, comfortable matte. So it was like what? Like a natural matte, maybe like a demi matte. Beautiful powder. This is always going to be in my top 10. The next powder I just purchased, but it's already in my top 10. The KimChi Puff Puff Pass powder. I have it in the shade Suntan. Wow. Wow, wow, and wow. If you do not own this powder, I suggest you pick it up. It's beautiful. This is my shade in Suntan. I got this off of the TikTok shop, so I got a sale. This has like a peach undertone, which looks beautiful on me. I'm wearing it under eye today, so I used the brush to set my under eye with the Maybelline Fit Me powder, and then I went in with my little puff from Amazon, and I baked a little bit with this. I did it on camera before. What a beautiful powder. Like, and it covers everything. So you get a full coverage. So when you put it under your eye, it snatches like the Huda Beauty powder. To me, it's matte, but to me, it's not as matte as that. I think that's probably one of the mattest powders on the market, that Huda Beauty powder. It does what it's supposed to do, but that matteness is like very stark. This one to me, it's not as much. As you can see, it's matte. And I woke up this morning with this eye swollen. I don't know if you can see, like right here. I don't know what happened. Maybe I was scratching it when I was sleeping. I'm so impressed with this powder, guys. So impressed with this powder. It covers everything. Well, it was created by one of the contestants on the RuPaul Drag Race. I'm not surprised it's this full coverage. It's beautiful. It doesn't feel matte. It doesn't feel heavy. Although it's full coverage, it's very like seamless. I'm obsessed with it. I use it every day now to set my under eye. I love to put it on top of a powder though. I like to put it on top of a loose powder, or I like to put it on top of a setting powder. You can find KimChi at JCPenney's. This is where, I didn't buy it from JCPenney's, but I was looking to buy the foundation, the concealer. They only had the lighter shades. I was very disappointed because I went in there looking for the foundation and the concealer. They only had the lighter shades. But if you're ever in JCPenney, if you're looking for a nice under eye powder, something to rival like the Huda Beauty loose powder, I would definitely give this a try. I love it. It's a beautiful, beautiful powder, and it's already made my top 10 powders. Last powder, not last because it's number 10, but the last powder is the Jaclyn Hill. This is her brightening powder, her under eye brightening powder. I have it in apricot. I could not do this video without putting this in my top 10. This is an amazing, amazing powder. She did such a good job with this powder. And she also have them in pressed, because one of my faves on TikTok, she uses it. She uses the lilac. The lilac looks amazing, but she's light. She's like an NC45. The lilac looks so amazing under her eye. It snatches your eye. This is also more of like a full coverage, and it's matte, but it doesn't feel that way. This is what the shade apricot looks like. Very pretty. This is beautiful for deeper skin under eye. It makes your under eye look so beautiful. I haven't worn it in a while, but I love, love this powder. This is one of my favorite things from her. Like I always say, Jaclyn Hill knows makeup, or she's had some misses like her concealer. But this powder right here, and I don't know if she's going out, her brand is going out of business, is what happened, but there've been a lot in Marshalls and TJ Maxx. If you ever like in like a Marshalls or something like that, and you see this in if either the pressed or the loose powder, pick it up. It's not very drying. It looks brilliant under eye. I love the texture and the formula of this powder. It is so good. So good. She did an amazing job with these powders. I didn't really notice it getting a lot of like, people weren't really talking about it, but it's a gorgeous, gorgeous powder, especially, and it's made for under eye. It's made to brighten your under eye, right? Who doesn't like a bright under eye? I love a bright under eye. Such a beautiful powder. I think it's very underrated. Like I said, you can see them at Marshall's now and stuff like that, and you could get it at a discounted price. I'm not sure if she's still in Ulta, but I'm assuming she would still be in Ulta, because I had heard something about her, this brand going out of business. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong, but this is such a beautiful powder. So anyway, guys, this round out my top 10 powders. Let me know if any of your powders made it into my top 10. Anyway, guys, so this is my final little roundup about everything powders. I hope you enjoyed my top 10, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.